Welcome back to the Relationship Mentors podcast. Today's a juicy one. We're diving into our relationship history, our dating history across time, and we've got a bunch of questions to dive in. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So, I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this one just because I know if I was a listener, I would love to hear these stories, especially we post a lot and we share a lot about our current relationship, but getting to share our past relationships before getting into this one. And it's we have experienced a lot of different types of relationships and different dynamics within ourselves, our own experiences, not just through what we hear from our clients. So I think it'll be really amazing for you guys to hear our past experiences as well.
Yeah, when we were getting ready for the episode, I was going to write some questions. I was like, this is such a you thing. I wouldn't personally listen to an episode like this, but it'd be so up your street. I think it's more of a girl thing, being so curious about the past.
Yeah, I'm just interested in other people's dynamics a lot. And so I think this really gets to uncover a lot of different dynamics. But let's go straight into the first question. So I'll read out the question and then Charlie, you can answer the first question. So the first question is, what is the shortest/worst date that you have ever been on?
Oh, such an anxiety thing around dates sometimes. I came out of a 7-year relationship, then I went straight back into the dating market. And I was like, fuck, I've never done this in my adult life before. So it's such a foreign thing for me. I think it was more so down the Gold Coast here and then just meeting a girl and it just being the worst conversation ever. Just nothing to talk about. You're trying so hard. There's no back and forth. You're putting so much effort in. And it's you can tell within 30 seconds if this is the person or not.
Yeah.
And then it's fuck, how short can I keep this date going and leave and it still be okay? So it's just from 30 seconds in, I'm like, fuck, how short can I make this before we say goodbye?
Yeah.
And it's just that awkward conversation, really putting out chats and conversation starters and getting nothing back. And we're so different people and we're just oh God, well, let's walk around the block, say goodbye and go home.
So that was so high chunk. So did that happen many times? Are you just grouping it together or?
No, that's just one actually. Just one where it's just such different people. And then we just met up, went for a walk, and then we planned to get food. So we just grabbed food really quickly. And then it's okay, see you later.
What food did you get? Was it just a fast takeaway thing?
Yeah.
A cafe?
Oh, it was in Burley. I think it's a burrito. No, what's it? Tacos, is it?
Tacos is a big thing to eat on a first date.
It's messy as well, hey?
Yeah.
That was a terrible idea, actually. That was my worst date, I think. It's just when you know 30 seconds in that this it's not going to be a good night. It's just fuck, how long is this going to go for?
Yeah. Also, it was nighttime.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're just getting more and more details.
Yeah, I was your answer was so high chunk. That was not juicy at all. It was we don't have much in common.
What was your worst then? I haven't got a lot of juicy stuff.
Yeah, I feel it's actually pretty similar, but mine was also just with one person in particular. And it's straight after work, finished at 5, and we went down again to Burley. Burley is just such a place for first dates where you just go for a walk because there's a beach and a bushwalk and all of that. So we caught up straight after work and we just walked across the beach up to the halfway, a little bit, not even halfway through the bushwalk and to the first lookout and then walked all the way back. And so in total, it took us 15 minutes to walk up and back. And it was just, exactly the same. It was so hard to keep a conversation with them. They didn't ask me any questions about myself or just any questions. And I feel I was the only one really trying to draw something out of him of just yep, this is what's happening. This is asking all these questions of things that I just generally didn't care about, like you said.
When you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You're just asking for the sake of asking.
Yeah, in the first 30 seconds, you can just tell if you're going to get along or not get along. And it's just we had nothing in common. And so at the moment we just walked back, we went to the first lookout. I'm okay, let's walk back down. And then I was okay, it was nice to meet you. See you later. And it was literally 15 minutes. It was
wow.
Walked up and walked down and we were literally not even face to face. We were just walking side by side. So it wasn't that awkward. But it was just I just couldn't care less. I was we have nothing in common. And
you have no idea because people can fake that shit online. And then you meet them in person. It's let's see what you actually got. And then it's nothing.
And I think a really big thing for me as well is something that I always look for, especially on a first date, is just the confidence of the guy himself, of like how well does he hold himself the moment that we see each other. Like this is something that Charlie did really well. It's also,
nailed this one.
Also something that I was really like, I always look for within the first dates or within a relationship. It's like the moment that they see me, like how do they stand, like how confidently do they stand, will they hug me, are they confident enough to like hug me?
Imagine they like just shake your hand.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like
have you ever had that?
I don't.
They shake your hand on the first date.
Have you had that?
No.
Okay.
That'd be so fucking weird.
Yeah, and just like how their voice is, like, is it strong, like masculine and firm, or is it like timid? So I think, I don't fully remember because it was so long ago now, but I do feel like it was just like an awkward meetup of like, I came, was like, hi, and then was like ready to go for a hug, and he was just like sort of standing there hunched over, the tiniest bit hunched over, but it just like wasn't like a strong, firm, like confident look to him.
Yeah, such an important piece, the first interaction.
Yeah.
When you meet each other. Like if you're single now and you go on a date, it's like be confident in that first interaction. If you're a guy going up to a girl, it's just like give her a hug.
Yeah.
Don't be like half in, half out. Just fully commit to whatever you do. The worst thing you can do is not commit, and then it just gets awkward, and then it sets the tone for the date almost.
Yeah, it's like you being confident is so important on a date.
Yeah.
It's like coming across timid, especially if you're a guy, just like isn't attractive.
Yeah, and a lot of people can focus on what's the exact questions I should ask, what's the exact way I should do this, when should I pay for the date, when should I XYZ, and it's like it's not about the strategy, it's like the confidence, just back yourself in whatever you decide.
Exactly. And even especially like even with conversations, normally it's like someone will ask one question and then there should just be banter back and forth of that one question for a little bit.
And when you just like change question, it's like, oh fuck, let's dig somewhere else. Hopefully there's a conversation
it's
there.
like there's
you can just tell.
Yeah, like with on this first date, 15 minutes. And it was just so hard. I was like, I asked a question and then it was like a one-word answer. It's just like, okay. It's just like not going anywhere.
And it's just an important conversational skill of when someone asks you a question, most of the time they don't care that much. They just want you to give them some information that they can feed off, that they can dig into, they can hook onto. Then you answer in a way that leaves a little bit of like curiosity there, and then they can dig into that. And it's like back and forth like that, right?
So much so. Okay, next one. So the next question is, have you ever been the cheater or cheated on within a relationship?
I have. So which bit?
Dun, dun, dun.
So yeah, I've been cheated on in a past relationship, a long-term relationship, I think after like 4 years. And then she went off to Australia for a month. And I can tell at the time, like I was really focused on work and business and not focused on the relationship, and that's what created it. But I only saw that looking back. Like at the time I was heartbroken, but yeah, after 4 years she went over to Australia. I was in the UK still, we were both in the UK, and she came back, and then we were both in bed together, and then she was typing something on her phone, and I was like, what are you typing? She's like, can you read this please? And it's this big thing of like the story and that. I was like, oh fuck, that hurts.
Especially I can just imagine you like just you with your like her phone reading it, and then just her like, obviously that would just be so hard to share that information, especially like you guys both like
it'd be so hard for both of us. Yeah.
And just for her to be like, oh my gosh, like I could have like ruined the whole relationship from this.
Yeah.
And just the silence of is you're reading that and her just watching you read it. I feel like that would have been super intense.
And fair play for telling me as well. Like she was in Australia, it was the other side of the world. Like she could have not said that. So it's like props for owning up to that stuff. And yeah, it was really painful at the time. And we stayed together for another like 2 years after that because I didn't want to speak about it to anyone else because I felt shame around it as a man getting cheated on. You're like, that's really bad for a man to have that happen to you. So I didn't speak to anyone else about it. So the only person I could speak to about it was her. So our relationship became very insecure after that moment. And yeah, it was like guilt kept the relationship going from her side, and then needing to talk about it kept the relationship going from my side. So it was, not great foundation for the relationship.
No. And have you ever been the cheater?
Oh, very grey, like in a situationship. But I feel like we're in a situationship, nothing was official, but we were dating for a long time, but nothing was official. And then we were both of us were on dating apps. I think both of us hooked up with other people.
How do you know that you both were on dating apps?
Because we come across each other on dating apps.
Imagine like you've been dating, like going on dates with each other for 6 months or however long it was.
Yeah.
How long were you in the situationship for?
It was like a relationship without it being a relationship. Neither of us wanted a relationship, but we're in a relationship. But no one said anything. And it went on for, it was like a year on and off.
Yeah.
But it was like 4 months on, and then we didn't see each other for 6 months, and then another like random 3 months or something. So it was like that sort of setup.
Funny. Just like imagine you just got off the
We
date.
both see each other. Like, I saw you on a dating app. How did you see me on a dating app? Because you're on the dating app too.
That's funny.
Yeah, so
That is funny.
that was my situation. What about you, Mia Cherry? Have you been cheated on or been the cheater?
I have never been the cheater, and I have been cheated on in one of my relationships. So back, I feel like my first real first love relationship.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like first love relationship. Now I look back and it's just like a learning lesson. There's like no like feelings or attachment or anger towards it whatsoever. But yeah, finding out we were in a 2-year relationship, and then right at the end, like the last day of our relationship, I found out that he had been cheating on me throughout our entire relationship, and I just had no idea. And like Charlie said, it's like didn't really want to talk to other people about it because at the time I felt embarrassed that like I was cheated on, and at the time I was quite young. I think I was like 19 when at the end of the relationship, and I felt like, oh, they cheated because I wasn't good enough and mustn't been like satisfying him or him being happy and blah, 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 blah. But then now, since we've done a lot of research within cheating and like why it occurs and all the different dynamics that actually play out, it just turns out it's like I genuinely was working 3-4 jobs at the time. I didn't care much for the relationship. I thought like I loved so much that I wanted to be in love and I wanted to be in a relationship, yet I didn't.
Your actions said otherwise.
Yeah, my actions are like all I really focused on was like my career and like getting ahead in life. But it's like my relationship was, it's like, okay, yep, like it's something that I have rather than something I'm putting effort in towards. And then on his, so like my schedule was chaotic all the time. And then on his schedule, he was like, had nothing on his schedule really. So he just fills it in with talking to other girls all the time.
This is a good point on after being cheated on. It's so easy to be the victim for a long period of time. But you find out after a while that doesn't actually serve you. Like you need to release the hurt, the anger you have towards an ex that maybe cheated on you. Because it's only going to fuck up your future relationships. Like a quote Mia said to me was, unhealed wounds from the past bleed on the next people you meet. And I was like, fuck, that's so true. Like if you still got anger, you still got insecurities about a past relationship, you're going to bring that into your next relationship. So it's like, maybe the relationship that you need to heal is your past one, not your current one.
Exactly. And it's like the biggest thing that I learned from that was, it's like that his actions didn't describe who I was, if that makes sense. It's like, yes, there was a part that I played in it, in the fact that it's just something I genuinely didn't care that much about now that I look back. But in the moment, I thought I cared so much. And then also from his side of things, it's just like, I just like was never there really around. And then also it shows a lot more of his character of like, if he never spoke about what was actually happening, that's also on him for not bringing it up. And it shows a lot more about his character to not have that conversation rather than just like going external. And also like just being young, just thinking like, oh, let me just try all these things.
Have you, yeah, it's so different in your case because he tried to hide it and he didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
Whereas in my case, you did bring it up.
Yeah, and like with your case, it happened just that one time, and then when mine literally.
Oh, your first love as well.
Yeah, it's like it was so funny because like when I did find out, there was like a 2-week period where we had broken up in those 2 years that we were together. And he was like, no, but there was that 1 week that I was trying to get you back and I was only talking to you. And I'm like, if you can only justify 1 week that we actually weren't together, that you weren't talking to another person, that's terrible. And yeah, so how I found out is like I just kept having, I think it was just a lot more of like intuition. Like throughout the whole relationship, I never suspected anything. I felt like I was so in love and this is amazing. It's like my forever person because I always wanted. More so because I loved the idea of being in love and I wanted the idea of being in a relationship and I wanted the idea of finding my forever person at like 18 and being with them for the rest of my life. And I just wanted that story so much that I was making whatever relationship that we had at that time work. Even that I look back now and it was just a nothing relationship. But yeah, intuition towards the end of it. I just kept having an inkling to like, there's something on his phone. But I would never, like I never wanted to snoop through his phone because it's like, privacy, blah, blah, blah. And then I just kept having dreams over and over again that it was happening. And then I was like, okay, like I keep having these dreams. They feel so intense. Can I just go through your phone? And at the first time, he's like, yep, sure. Passed it to me. And the moment I opened his phone, he like tried to take it back. He's like, oh, actually, let me take it. Oh. And then, the first app I go on, the first girl I look at, there's just like all these messages, like all these nudes, all this like sex scene happening. And then like every single girl I clicked on, like every message, like
he was a serial
it wasn't,
cheat, Jesus.
yeah, it just like wasn't one. There were just so many. And I was like, wow. And then just looking at the messages, there was just like, they go like, there's many girls, but then also a lot of them just go back years and years, like all the years. I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's like now looking back and laughing, it's just like, wow, it's just like such a nothing relationship. And now many years after realizing that doesn't describe who I am, that was just his own needs needing to be fulfilled in feeling superior, feeling important, and
yeah, exactly.
etc.
It leads on to the next question. Have you ever gone through someone's phone without them knowing? You just mentioned with him knowing.
Yes. So the first time I ever went through my partner's phone was in that moment when I was like, okay, I keep having these dreams that you're cheating on me, just to like, I totally believe you when you say that you're not. But it's like, hey, they keep coming up. I just feel like I just need to like just see it for myself. And then like, hopefully the dreams will just stop happening. And then I found out he was cheating. And then there was like a 2-year period where I wasn't in a relationship with anyone. And I think my second relationship after that, I think I just had like a 3-month relationship and then another 3-month relationship, which were really short. And I went through one of the guy's phones, like the second guy's. Like we went to his house, he ended up passing out, being drunk. Then I'm like, oh, I'll just go through his phone. But he was very nice. Like there was nothing there. He was so lovely. And if anything, I found just a note up that said things to tell Mia, and there's just like dot points of all things he wanted to tell me since like the time that we've been apart. I'm like, oh, he's just like the sweetest person. Oh. So I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Anyway, we were just like, wasn't a deep enough connection for us to like want to stay together. But yeah, that was sweet. And I think that just justified, and something that I really learnt with you as well is that just because that one guy had those actions doesn't mean that the next guy will.
It's so easy to generalize all men are this, all men are that. Really, you can base that off the 1 or 2 people you've been with. It's like, there's so many men out there. Don't generalize all your dating's future based on your dating's past.
100%. And so it's like, that was, I feel like, a really good sign. Because like maybe if I saw him talking to all these girls, maybe I'd think all guys are like this. But it's like, I only ever experienced it with that first guy many, many years ago. And then that one time that I checked another guy's phone without him knowing, there was literally nothing there.
Oh,
it was just like
so sweet.
Things to tell me. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet.
That's so cute.
I feel like for each other, it's like we have each other's passwords for things. And if I ever look at your phone, you're literally right there. Like I'll just grab your phone and just had a quick look. Yeah,
open phone policies, getting to that place in your relationship, it's just so much more reassuring for both of you. It's like as you move deeper and deeper into a relationship, you need more layers of trust because you're having more skin in the game, right? You got more commitment. You move in together. Maybe you have a kid together. Maybe you get married. Like as you move further and further, it's like you need more and more safety as you go. So it's like having an open phone policy, sharing finances, things like this is so important.
I do think like something in our relationship, for example, like now when I look back, I feel like we have so much trust with each other now. When we go right back to when we first moved in together, maybe it's like you had a lot of people, like you would message a lot of people for work, like guys, women, and men. It was like,
what's the other sex called?
Both men and women. And then like, I think it's just sometimes like seeing a girl's name pop up on your phone, like a little bit of insecurity would come up. But then like I would check your phone with you sitting right there. And then after doing that, realizing that there's like to trust you completely with it.
Yeah.
And that for me, I believe that was just another part, a stepping stone for me to fully trust you so much.
And trust men in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have those past, if those things from the past come up and you need reassurance, like you should be able to ask for reassurance in your relationship. If your partner can't give you reassurance on something that you need reassurance for, then it's a pretty bad sign in the relationship.
Yeah.
So it's like, if things come up for you and you need to express yourself, like it's so important that your partner is there for you to be able to do that.
And I feel like you always held yourself really well and like held me in those moments of like moments I felt insecure. You're like, no, like nothing's happening. Like,
yeah, if your partner does approach you with something, or you approach your partner with something and there's a big defensive reaction, it's like, oh, there's something there. So it's like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah. And just like doing that just like has built so much trust that now I just know that we're so solid. What about you? Okay. So
have I ever snooped through someone's phone without them knowing? Yeah, I think I have. After being cheated on, I was like very insecure for a long time. And I was like, fuck, when she was sleeping, just like, I have to go through her phone, see if there's anything else here. So like in that instance, I have. I can't think of any other times.
Have you ever gone through my phone?
I did before to look at your screen time of TikTok
I know, this
and
is
Instagram.
something,
That
this is like the most insecurity thing is like Charlie will always grab my phone to look at my screen time to see how much I've been on my phone that day.
yeah, because if you complain that you're like feeling shit one night, it's like,
I feel you do it all the time. Sometimes you take my phone away from me and it's like, oh, I'll put on charge for you. I'm like, I just know you're looking at my screen
I know
time
you're judging me
now.
right now. Because there's one time I came home, I was like away all day, and then I came home and you're like, oh, I just feel like shit. I was like, can I see your phone? 4 hours on YouTube, 4 hours on TikTok. I was like, no wonder you feel like shit. But it's like you start the day feeling like shit, and then it's just like, oh, let me just watch stuff. And then it's just a compounding effect from that.
And like from there, we've learned a lot of like, okay, it's like reason why we feel like shit after we've been scrolling our phone so much is that there's so much dopamine that's being released every time you watch a reel and like that instant gratification. And when your brain is, if you're constantly watching the reels, watching the TikToks, there's so much dopamine being released that it's exhausting your brain after it's consumed so much of that content that then you just feel like shit because you have no dopamine left to.
Yeah, you're just depleting
Depleting. That's
your
great.
pleasure centers so much. You're like frying them out. They're burnt out. So it's like, no wonder anything else in life can't compare to that. No wonder you can't focus for longer than 5 minutes because your brain is so hooked on the instant pleasure and it's so burnt out. So,
but yeah, it's so great to know that now because like when you look at the habits behind it, right? It's like if you don't feel that great, you know, if you go on TikTok for a little break, you'll feel better because now you know that it's releasing dopamine. So that's what's making you feel better rather than if you just go outside and maybe like stand in the sun, you could have a more subtle experience rather than exposing yourself to that. So it's something I'm becoming like more aware of.
Then next question.
Wait, so you've gone through other people's phones?
I went through my ex's phone when I felt insecure after I got cheated on, and then went through your phone to look at the screen time when you felt like shit.
I feel like you still do that though. I still feel
I'm like, let me see your phone.
Sometimes I'm like, no, I'll go put it on charge.
You feel a bit of shame around the screen time.
Yeah. So anytime you ask to put my phone on charge, I was like, oh, like out of courtesy. I'm like, I don't think it's courtesy. I think you're just looking at my screen
Most
time.
of the time it is. Out of courtesy.
Most of the time it is just to look at my screen time. Okay, so on that note, do you feel like it's wrong to go through your partner's phone?
Ugh. I had a client a couple of days ago who he was like, I snooped through my girlfriend's phone. Like, I know it was wrong. I know it's bad, but I was feeling this. I thought I was crazy. I was feeling X, Y, Z. So I had to look because it was just eating me up inside. I was like, ideally, if you're on a good basis with your partner, you'll be able to chat with them about it. But if you're like feeling like enemies and there's no way you can communicate about this thing, it's like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it's like my thing is, it's like, yes, I make sense that going through someone's phone without them knowing isn't like going through someone's phone to snoop to see if they're doing something bad or cheating on you without them knowing. I can see how that's not like it's not the healthiest thing to do, full stop. And it's like within a relationship, I do believe there should just be an open phone policy. And I do believe if you're in a relationship and you do feel like the other person is cheating, it's going up to them and being like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Can I go through your phone. And if they're like, you should trust me, it's like, you don't have to go through my phone. It's like, okay, well,
Something's on your phone.
yeah, it's like, if, like, for example, I've had that before. Not that I thought you were cheating, but it's like, oh, I saw this notification pop up on your phone. Like, who is this person? And then you're like, yep. And then you showed me the messages. It's like, that's how it should be. It's like, if you have any insecurities, you should be able to go up to your partner and be like, hey, I feel like this. Can I just check your phone? So then my feelings about it can be settled. And then if the person's like, no, you should trust me, there's privacy. It's like, if a partner does that, like, I disagree with that. It should just be an open phone policy.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you have an open phone policy?
Yeah.
It's like, anything you say to that to justify not having one is just bullshit. Like, it's just you hiding. It's you hiding something. Maybe it's a thing blocking you from having a deeper relationship. It's like, you need to get over that shit, because I can't see a case where you shouldn't have an open phone policy.
100%, I agree. Okay, so the next one is, what is the longest relationship you've ever been in? And then what did you learn from it? Like, what was your biggest lesson?
I was in a relationship for 7 years. Long old time. Yeah, I got in a relationship when I was like, how old are we? Like 17 till 23, 24, something like that. Yeah, it was just a long relationship. And I just got really comfortable in the relationship. I feel like that's what I learned from it, that you continuously need to put effort in and not treat your partner like a commodity. Like, it just became so, I don't know, like, it was a great relationship in parts. And then it was just like, I don't know, we just didn't put the effort in to maintain a great relationship. We just took each other for granted a little bit, I think. So I think it's that. And it was a big learning curve for me as well. Like, I was prioritizing business and making money and not prioritizing the relationship. So not having the emotional awareness of how that would have made her feel, instead of just being in my own lane, acting out of my insecurities of trying to be enough, while at the same time making her feel like shit, and then seeing how she acted out based on that. It's just like, I learned to be more aware of the relationship and the effects I'm having on another person. I think that's a big maturity piece. It's like seeing the second, third, fourth order consequences of the actions. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned. Just, what is this causing for the other person? Like, empathy rather than acting out of insecurity.
I really like that.
Yeah.
So my longest relationship, I'm going to say, is our current relationship, which has been over 2 years. It's like, my longest relationship before our relationship was the one that I was in for 2 years, and that person ended up cheating on me. Then all the other relationships after that were quite, like, a lot shorter than 2 years. And the biggest thing that I learnt from the longest relationship would be our relationship. Just learning that your relationship doesn't have to get boring. It's like, our relationship goes through so many different phases. Like, we all go through different phases of life, and we've been through different phases within our relationship. Yet just realizing, it's like, when you genuinely like someone, you don't have doubts of the relationship. You don't just stop liking them or stop loving them. It's just so, like, amazing to see. It's like, we just genuinely love each other, and the love and the happiness and, like, the fun has really stayed for the longevity of the relationship, which is just really nice to experience, and has given me more faith of, like, oh, people really can grow old together and still, like, love each other so much. Like, you see those old videos of, like, the grandpa and the grandma just, like, having so much love and, like, admiration for each other. And I really see, like, us being able to achieve that.
Yeah, I saw a video on Instagram, and it was of this, like, 90-year-old woman in the hospital bed, and her 92-year-old husband came in, and he was, like, just joking with her and flirting with her and having a laugh. And it's like, fuck, relationships really are the most important thing, aren't they? When you have that deep connection with someone, when you share a life with someone, when you go out and do something even mundane, it's like, no one's there to share it with. But when Mia and I just go to the shop, for example, it's just like, we create so many memories. Like, I'm so happy to be doing this boring stuff together.
Yeah, all the mundane stuff. Okay, so the next question is, have you ever been a completely different person in a relationship?
Yeah, I was extremely jealous in a past relationship. After being cheated on, I became, it's like toxically jealous. And I'd have so much anger inside me and so much, like, bitterness, and there's just, like, shitty feeling inside me that I'd project it out onto my partner, onto my ex, because I felt so insecure, and she caused me so much hurt, and she this, she that, like, not taking any responsibility for how I treated her. So yeah, in a past relationship, I've definitely been super jealous. and like toxically jealous and like, always questioning and always putting her down just because I felt like shit.
Would you ever accuse her of cheating again? Or,
Would I accuse her of cheating?
yeah, of like, you're cheating on me now? Anything like that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Like that's been a big thing. Like I've totally released that. Like it's just only love for her now. It's like releasing all that stuff allowed me to fully step into my future rather than like holding on to that bitterness and anger and this and that. It's like you will never move past the problems in your past until you take responsibility for your side of it. So it's like I had a massive responsibility in that. So now I've released all that, to be honest.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. What about you, Mia Cherry?
So a completely different person. I would say yes. Yes. I don't believe it was like a completely different person. However, in a relationship, instead of being myself, I would be the person I believed the other person wanted me to be, which ended up being like, I just need to be this perfect person, you know, always look good, always just be perfect, always say the right thing, always be like etiquette, like the etiquette of life, and just like not be myself and not be relaxed, always just be like, you know, perfect in a little box and
Have to wear makeup.
like I am the perfect girlfriend.
Girlfriend in a box.
Yeah, but girlfriend in a box. Barbie, here you go. It's like I feel like I really carried that a lot in my relationship, because I also believe I was wearing that mask within life of like, you know, I have to be this person. Like at my job, I need to be like this, this, and this. Don't do this, don't do that, do this, this, and this. And so I feel like in every area of life, back when I was younger, I had that mask on of like, I have to be this prim, proper person without just, and I believe like I am that, but it's just like a lot more relaxed and like I'm a lot more silly and like playful now.
Yeah.
Where in like relationships or in life, I definitely wasn't that. And it's just been over the years that I've been like just grown confidence within who I am and that it's okay just to be myself. And if someone likes it or doesn't like it, it's just going to be able to just see my people sooner, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the first relationship that I feel genuinely myself. Like I do not have to change a single thing. Like I said in another podcast, it's like whether Charlie's at home or not at home, I'm still the same person. It's like sometimes people, when they're at home by themselves, they do this and they do that and they like blah, blah, blah. But then with Charlie being here or not here, I just do all the same things and I just feel like fully comfortable.
That's such a good test for your relationship.
Yeah.
Do you act the same when your partner's home and not home? Are you fully yourself? I was like, imagine putting on a mask. Like imagine pretending to be someone you're not in a relationship. And then all of a sudden you have to live up to that expectation, to that character that you've created in your relationship every single day. Like that's going to be so tiring. And when you actually become yourself, you're going to be 4 years in the relationship, not enjoying each other's company, not being the same person, not even wanting to be together because you put a mask on at the start. It's like when you meet someone, it's okay to be a polished version of you, but it's just like show yourself as well. Like you don't have to be on the first date and tell them all the fucking, all your shit straight away. But it's just like, be honest with them, be open with them as soon as possible. So you don't be 3 years down the line and not wanting to be in this relationship anymore.
Exactly. Okay. So the next question is, what is the most embarrassing relationship moment?
Ooh,
Charlie came up with this question, so I'm really interested.
did I? Oh, I did.
Yeah.
In a past relationship, I think we were together for like a year, maybe. Super early on, I think I was like, I don't even know how old I was, like 15 or 16. And I was at her house and then we were having sex and then her mum walked in and saw us having sex, like without any sheets on. And it was just like, it was even worse being at
With no sheets on too.
yeah,
like
you're like,
a bare bum.
you're like 16 at her house and the door walked in at like, the bed was here and like our feet was facing that way and the door was over there as well.
So it's just
And
like
we
a
didn't,
long
yes,
room.
and we didn't hear her for a long,
Oh, that's even more.
like she walked in and then it's like a few seconds later that she's like, what the fuck, guys?
Oh, yuck.
And it was-
Just not knowing that they've opened. So it's just like
Not
you're
knowing?
still like thrusting and
Oh.
she's standing there.
Yeah, it was just like the most embarrassing moment.
I feel like sex...
And going downstairs and being like, just seeing her mum and dad again. And walking out like, all right, bye. And then I was like 16 at the time, obviously. So I had to go like catch the bus and go home.
Imagine if they had to like drive you home. It's just like awkward silence in the car.
Did they? I don't think so. I'm not sure if I caught the train home, actually. Oh, God. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, okay, that is embarrassing. That's so awkward.
Yeah. That was mine. Do you have an embarrassing moment you think of?
When Charlie brought it up, I was like, embarrassing moment. I don't think there's any moment that I am embarrassed about in any relationship. But I think what is a really funny story about a relationship is one of the relationships that I was in for however many months. It maybe was like 6 months instead of like 3 months, like I said before. However, the way that it ended, I find really funny. It's like we were at their house for the weekend. Like I was at their house for the weekend and we like went to a football game. We went for a bushwalk and then it was just like, okay, it's been like a long time together. It's like, I remember saying in the car drive home, it's like, okay, I think we just like need some space, meaning like I said the sentence, I think we need some space of like, and I was referring to, I reckon I should just go home now so I can just like relax and just have our own separate time at the moment. And he's like, yeah, like I agree. And then a week later on, I found out that he took it as, okay, we need like space, as like we need to go on a break within our relationship. And so as I'm driving home, and then then we just like sort of just stopped talking. And it's just like
the end.
It wasn't it was just like there's no like break up necessarily. It was just like sort of just stopped talking to each other. And then I would see that he would create other Instagram accounts and then message me being like, hey, do you have a boyfriend? And like you could see, because it's like, when someone like makes an account, you could like see it's like their number or it's a part of their email or like part of their name a little bit. And I like, obviously I don't think he realized, but he made like 3 different accounts that was like messaging me. It's like, hey, you're so attractive. Do you have a partner? So you could see that he was also confused on his end, but I was also confused on my end. And it was at a time like we could have just messaged each other and be like, oh,
yeah, one text message.
Yeah, one text message, but it just sort of just like was silent. Like I was confused. He obviously was confused as well. And then I think it was like 5 days or maybe like a week later that I messaged him. I was like, oh, like, did you want to catch up or something like that? And then we ended up catching up. And then it was just like the conversation of not of a breakup, but it's like, oh, like you seem like you're doing so well after the breakup. I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, yeah, me too. And so I was like, oh, it's a great, like fun time getting to know each other. It's like, seems like it's done now though.
Oh God.
But I just think like that's the most random way to break up. It's like, oh, I think we just like need some space, like meaning I'll just like go to my own house. And she's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, okay, we're no longer in a relationship. And then we haven't spoken to each other since.
Oh my God.
I just find that funny.
It's just like, can we have some space? Then just that meaning a breakup.
Yeah, it's like that one sentence. This is what we always talk about, like clear and effective communication. To me, it was clear communication, but it wasn't effective. What makes an effective conversation or communication is when the other person makes sense of what you're saying.
It's like it's your responsibility.
Yeah,
you have a responsibility on if the other person hears it.
The way that you
intend it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you say something, and I'm like, I take it as a different way. Then like, oh, actually, no, this is how I meant it. Like, it's so easy to have miscommunication in a relationship.
Yeah, it's like it's the same situation. We both heard the same words. I meant it in one way. He took it in another. Mine was space. He took it as the end of the relationship. And I'm like, okay, we'll go with that one.
We'll go with that one.
We'll go with that one.
I enjoy that one too.
I think that's so funny. Okay, so the next one is, have you ever remained friends with an ex? So also this is a very controversial thing. It's like some people say it's like, no, it's an ex, you shouldn't be friends with them. Other people say like, yeah, you can be friends with your ex. What's your opinion on that? And then are you friends with an ex?
I'm not enemies with any ex is the first thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not friends with any ex either. It's like they're just in the middle ground of like, yeah, just like no charge towards them.
Yeah.
It's like I don't hate any ex. I don't want to be friends with any ex. They're just in the middle of like, I hold them in love. If I saw them, I would talk to them, but I wouldn't want to be friends. I wouldn't want to catch up with them because it's just like that chapter's over. But like if we saw each other, I'd be so happy to have a chat and be like, hey, how you going? Like, so great to see you. So amazing you're doing well. But I just wouldn't want to remain friends with an ex.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I have no intention of being friends with an ex. there was a time when my ex came into town. And I was like, oh, that means we should catch up. That means like I should go and say hello. It's like, oh, I'll bring Mia. We'll do this. We'll do that. I was like,
Okay, just pausing on that for a second. So Charlie has such a golden retriever energy of like, I think if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't like do as many social things as we do with our friends. And like Charlie's such a person of like, yeah, let's get everyone together.
Make friends with everyone.
Like, yeah, let's bring everyone together and have a nice picnic or a nice meal together. And so like Charlie just really has that. And so then when he saw his ex, he also thought like, oh yeah, like you're in town. Obviously, like you're still friends with our other friends that were here. Like let's all go out for dinner.
Yeah, we had like still had obviously mutual friends after so long together. Like, oh, let's obviously like catch up and do this. And I didn't even think about it. And then Mia was like, no, some other friend, like, yeah, another friend was like, it's a bit weird. Isn't that a bit weird? I was like, no. Oh, actually, it might be a bit weird. And then Mia was like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you really want to.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you so weird about this? Wait, I'm the one that's being weird. Like, this is actually weird.
Yeah.
It's not until you said, put yourself in my shoes. Like, imagine your ex was coming to town and you wanted me to catch up with him with you. I was like, fuck, that'd be so weird. And it wasn't until I did that, I was like, oh my God, that is actually weird.
Yeah, like putting it in the perceptual position. Because I said yes. I was like, yeah, if like you want to catch up with everyone, of course. But it's like, it is still bizarre. And it still is like, hey, would be a weird tension of like, you were with this person for 7 years. And at that time, I think we had been together. We had been together less than 6 months. Maybe it was like 4 months or something.
Yeah.
So it was like it didn't feel like a very new relationship, but it just like wasn't as deep. And then I was like, as long as like, if the shoe was on the other foot, if you would be completely fine with it, sure, I'll go on this. But if you felt uncomfortable or weird, or you just think it's really bizarre, then I don't think it's like the best idea.
That is such a good test. Like when you said that, I was like, fuck, that is so good. If I look through the things in my relationship, like the things I do, it's like, how would you feel if it's on the other foot? I was like, oh, that would actually be a bit weird. Like this meeting up is like, that is actually so strange. And I did not realize that until then.
Yeah, that was a funny moment because I remember I shared it with my best friend, and then as we were on the phone together sharing that, she was just sitting there also listening. She's like, this is so bizarre.
Yeah. That was a funny time.
Okay, so then
Have you ever remained friends with an ex?
Oh, right. No, I feel like how you explained it is really well. It's like, I'm not enemies with any exes. We've always ended it being like, obviously we're still on good terms, but it's just...
We just don't want to know each other.
Yeah, it's just like it's ended the chapter. And I don't think like I've ever ran into an ex apart from one of them that's also lives in Burleigh.
Yeah. And
that's just like, I think we've ran into them once or twice. And other than that, it's just like, we all like say hi, be nice.
Just civil.
I was going to say like friendly, but I was like, yeah, we're just like nice. It doesn't really have to be like, oh my God, what have you been up to? What are you doing? Are you great?
Yeah.
But yeah, then other than that, it's just like, I have no need to feel like I need to message them or talk to them.
Keep in touch.
There's just like, yeah, no need for that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Okay. And then the next question is, describe a relationship where you felt like you were settling and what made you realize that you were settling.
Yeah, it's been so many relationships, not so many relationships, but times when I was like, I'd so rather be in a bad relationship than be single. Because I just don't want to be single. I just need someone there. And it was this pattern of jumping from relationship to relationship just because I didn't want to be single. Like I just needed someone there. And that was such a learning piece when I actually realized that pattern and be like, I would rather be unhappy in a relationship than possibly being happy single. Like the uncertainty of being single and being alone. I was like, fuck that shit. I'd rather be in a bad relationship. So I definitely have felt like I was settled in relationships before. Even when... like in that situationship, I was like, we are so not the person for each other. It's like, we are not like, what I want in a girlfriend is not you. What you want in a boyfriend is not me.
If you want a girlfriend, I'm not a girlfriend.
I'm not a girlfriend. It's like, what I want in a girl is not you. What you want in a boy is not me. So it's like, but I remained in that relationship for that short amount of time. So I don't know if that's called settling, then I have, but... Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
I'm settling in this relationship.
I was waiting for like one of the questions to be that, this relationship. So the question was, and yeah, any relationship that I felt like I was settling in. I feel like there's been moments where it's like there's an argument within a relationship or a disagreement, and then you send those like really long paragraphs back and forth with each other, then I just remember sitting there. It's like, what is the bare minimum? Like, what's the bare minimum that I want or need out of this relationship? And then I just remember sending that text and of like, I don't even want this person to say that they'll do this, like the bare minimum of this, because I don't even want a relationship where I need to be like begging.
You have to sell them on the idea.
Yeah,
of
like that's
being
better.
okay with
Yeah,
them.
because like begging wasn't the right word. Sell them the idea of meeting like my own needs or anything like that. And then, yeah, so like those were that like moments, because I feel like that's happened throughout different relationships, or that it's just like they're not that present, or it's just not fun to be around. It's just like looking back, we're just like different people. Like I myself wasn't being my authentic self. Like I was trying to be that perfect person, like in a box of like perfect box in a girlfriend in a box.
Malibu Stacy doll.
Yeah, so I wasn't even being myself, let alone, but still expecting my partner at the time to meet my needs. But I was like, I wasn't even meeting my own needs of being authentically myself or like expressing myself the way that I would now. So I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of relationships because I wasn't myself and didn't accept myself enough when I was younger. It put me into relationships where they like weren't able to meet any of my needs because there was just like this massive,
Big old wall.
yeah,
Up
there's like massive barrier between us. So yeah,
where they couldn't even see your real self.
exactly.
Interesting. Would you call that settling?
I would call that settling. It's like, because at the time it's like I knew that person, like you said, I wanted this like big grand relationship that we both were so in love and ready to spend the rest of our life together. But I was just so busy on like, do you love me? We can spend the rest of our life together. Like I said at the beginning of the relationship, like I just
Please choose me.
wanted the relationship. So like I just wanted love so much. I love love. I love the idea of being in a relationship, but just it wasn't there. And something that we speak about a lot within when we're talking about clients and the work that we do is that women more likely will be in the relationship that they're currently in and work for that relationship to be the great dream relationship they want, rather than seeing sometimes what the relationship is and then realizing that that's not the person that they're able to achieve their dream relationship with. Sometimes it is. Sometimes if the core between you guys is that you're both wanting the relationship to work and you both genuinely love each other unconditionally, you can create this dream relationship. But the core of like any of my past relationships, when I look at it, I'm like, I didn't have that deep desire of unconditional love. It was just I loved the idea of all these things that I wanted to stay in the relationship because I love the idea of like ticking boxes, you know, of like being in love, tick, being like what I would call love back then, and then like being in a relationship, tick, a boyfriend that shows up every now and then, tick. Like
good
it's
enough.
very much that.
It's like so many people are in love with the potential of their partner, not their actual partner.
Yeah.
And they live in this delusion. It's like, how long is it going to take before you realize that this guy's not going to step up, this girl's not going to step up, or improving yourself? Be like, are you actually communicating your needs, or are you expecting your partner to be a mind reader?
Exactly. And it's like in those moments when I've been in those relationships, it's like, it's only with hindsight now that you can really see as like, okay, that relationship really wasn't anything, like really wasn't that much of a big deal as I believed it was at the time. But at the time I thought that it was this grand big relationship, and you can't really see all the missing pieces until you're out of the relationship and looking back at it and you're like, oh, there was holes everywhere in our relationship. You know?
Yeah. And something that kept me in a relationship really long, and it keeps a lot of people in relationships really long, is I can't imagine building a connection as deep with anyone else, or the last X amount of years will be wasted. It's like you make future decisions based on how much time, money, and energy you've already invested in something, rather than what's actually better for you going forward. And I've kept in a relationship where it's like, fuck, we've been together like 4 or 5 years. Like, why would we break up? All that would be wasted. I couldn't form a connection as deep with anyone else. Unless it is such a lie.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes you just really don't know that unless you experience other relationships. Like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I've already spent 6 years with this person. I don't want to waste that 6 years. But like, you could be wasting another 30 years and like, or you could waste another 6 until it ends up failing, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you like, obviously, like I said, the foundations of the relationship of if you both wanted to make it work as much as each other and have that underlining of unconditional love for each other, then you can learn the skills and the techniques and how to improve the relationship.
One last question. What are you excited about for the future of our relationship?
I think I did mention it in this episode now. And since I did mention it, I think that's why it's front of mind, is just how like there's been so much evidence of how happy and in love and how joyful our relationship has remained over the period of time that we've been together. That it's like because of that trust and that reassurance that I've experienced throughout our relationship, it's actually given me the belief that, wow, we could actually achieve, and it is achievable to have a long lasting, like having your one person, like the one person that you choose to spend the rest of your life with. And actually those words of like spend the rest of your life with, it's like I genuinely believe we can spend the rest of our life together and be so happy and so in love and still so joyful, where I feel like there has been moments within my life where I lost faith in that. Like I wanted that, yet I didn't believe it anymore because of what we'd see online or what you see in movies and what you see from other people's relationships. It's just like, I think I lost faith in that. And then now experiencing this for myself, I was like, wow, this actually has given me so much faith, as well as also experiencing like meeting your parents, and they've been together for so many years and they just genuinely love each other and they're so sweet to each other. And like, that's also like, since you have that belief system already in you,
Gives you more reassurance.
yeah, which has given me more reassurance.
Yeah, my mum and dad are so sweet. Like, they've been together like 35, 40 years. Never seen them argue. They're just so sweet. They still go on date nights, still support each other.
Like
it's
fish and
so
chips.
cute. Yeah, they go for fish and chips every now and then. It's
We
just
should
like,
do that today. We should go
For
like,
fish and chips?
Yeah, I think that's so sweet.
well, we didn't eat very well yesterday, so our
Okay.
tummies aren't
I
feeling
was
good.
like, maybe
I
not
don't think a
then.
bunch of seed oil would make us feel any better.
No.
Is that all the questions?
Yeah, that was all the questions.
Amazing. I think that was a really juicy episode. Like, someone like you would love that episode, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was like, I think it's so interesting. Like, everyone should just do this, like, even like on a small Instagram reel and like start a trend of that. Like, it would be so
Open up about your
interesting.
whole history.
Yeah.
That's so
Have
funny.
you ever cheated?
Thank you so much for listening. That was a really fun episode.
Yeah.
Something that really supports our channel, if you leave a review, if you're on Spotify or Apple, or subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. It really supports us to help us grow this channel. And we love doing these episodes. So we're really excited to keep these going every single Monday.
Yeah, and we've started a podcast, Instagram account and TikTok account as well. So go and support those, which is the Relationship Mentors podcast on TikTok and Instagram. So we're starting to build that up.
And send this video to your partner. One thing that's really helped is sending podcast episodes to your partner. Then you can come together and actually chat about the episode. So share this video with your partner as well. And thank you so much. We'll catch you next Monday.
See you later.